Hello, welcome to the Growing Design podcast, where we help you grow your design agency. If you want to learn how to price your services, how to sell your expertise, and how to attract the right type of clients, you've come to the right place. I'm your host, Ed Orozco. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Growing Design. Today, we're going to be talking to Simon Martin. Simon, do you mind introducing yourself for the audience, who you are, what you do?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Ed. Thanks for having me. So, my name is Simon. I'm an interface and experience designer from Berlin. And I'm working in the field of music software.
Great. Simon, you're also the owner slash co-founder of an agency called Resonant Design. Can you tell us what Resonant Design is all about?
Yeah, sure. So we are three designers who founded the agency, and this is basically still the core team. And we did this to kind of or try to help establish human-centered design principles in the field of audio software and music production, because we felt there's quite a big gap, and you as a musician can probably tell.
Yeah, I don't know if the audience knows, but definitely my friends do. I play the guitar and I'm a big fan of music, and I've been making music for many, many years. So when I came across Resonant and the work of Simon, I was very interested right away to see someone combining UX and creating software with the music production environment, which, like you said, I think needs a lot of help. And we're gonna talk a little bit about that. But I want to know, sort of like the backstory, like what led you to focus as a designer in the music production field.
Mm-hmm. So I basically my music background is mostly in DJing. So I started DJing with, I don't know, 13 years or so, like really early. And this kind of developed in the same time my interest for DJing, then like for like expressing my creativity. And I had no idea that I want to become a designer back then, but I was doing graffiti and these kinds of stuff, so already quite visual. And at some point during my studies, so I actually studied interface design, and during that time I kind of developed the idea to work for Native Instruments, to really try to combine these two big passions of mine, or these two fields of interest.
For those who are not familiar with Native Instruments are one of the major players in the software creation for musicians. They have a lot of applications for bass players, for guitar players, and for other musicians as well. And you work there for quite some time, right?
About 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah. How was your experience there? First of all, like, how did you decide to apply there? How was your process, and like, what was your experience like?
Yeah. Basically, I was really just trying to get an internship that I needed for my studies, and this immediately worked out. And directly after the internship, I started as a, call it, kind of probably like a working student. So I just stayed there for, I don't know, 20 hours a week or so, and till I finished my studies, and then I just transitioned into a full-time job there.
That's very cool. Was that in Berlin?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it very common for these companies to take sort of like undergrads or students and sort of train them, or was it just like a special occasion?
I mean, it was already then not really a training, I would say. So I guess they definitely want some level of experience and also already quite a portfolio with stuff. Um, but I guess the most important thing is really to share this common passion for music that basically everybody in this company has, and which makes it so great.
That's awesome. How many people are in that office or work in that office?
I don't know how many they are now, but at my times it was already, I think, alone in Berlin, kind of maybe 400, and worldwide that time, I guess something like 600, which is really really huge for a audio software company
Yeah,
compared to
yeah, I can
everybody else.
imagine. Okay, that's very cool. Did you feel like, or what was the design environment in Native Instruments? Or can you like tell us without breaking any law or anything? Can you tell us a little bit about what's the process like when working in a company like Native Instruments? Like, how do you think about and approach the design process that you would probably not see in other environments?
Yeah. Um, I mean, first of all, Native Instrument consists of a lot of different teams that work on a lot of different products. So they got drum machines, so really hardware controllers to play live, or and and I worked in a field for the actual software instruments. So all kinds of stuff like synthesizers or pianos, flutes, whatever. Um, and the design process, yeah. I mean, it's obviously you have this very, if you compare it to a really a consumer product, you have quite a small or a narrow target group already, right? And um, this makes it a little bit easier to to just basically imagine how people use your stuff, or yeah it's it's probably a bit difficult to really go into depth and about the detailed design processes there, but obviously everything is around um, the musician and or the modern music maker, if that's probably a good way to call it.
Nice. So when you were working at Native Instruments, uh, you were, I imagine, since this is such a niche sort of target, which is people who produce music with software, which maybe there's a lot of people that do that, but it's a way smaller group or subset of people if you compare it with, let's say, people who use Instagram or people who use your regular
Yeah.
consumer app. So do you feel like that has an impact in the way you like carry out user testing? Is like, do you feel like it's easier because you sort of know what people are expecting, or what's your take on that?
I mean, obviously, it's still also this quite narrow group of people is still very diverse, right? So there are a lot of different genres, first of all, like and people tend to like use tools differently in different genres, and or when they do different styles of music. And it's also a field where people have developed or tend to develop quite like very very personal workflows in how they use their gear or their software. So it's still really important to just go out and meet people and interview people. And so I think it's basically not so much of a difference in terms of user testing that I mean, it's still important to find a very diverse group of people and yeah, try to cover everybody from beginner to pro and yeah.
And also, I imagine you had to make sure that you didn't design something that was too much for a certain type of genre because it wouldn't appeal other genres.
Sure, yeah. I mean, what we tried in this instrument team was always to, with the visual design at least, to work out really the character of the instrument. So um, obviously, like a very classical instrument like a violin or something, you would expect a certain look and feel of the software, right? Compared to maybe like a super crazy synthesizer that does a lot of bleeping crazy sounds and so yeah, I think like working out the character of the instrument is more important and keep it, yeah, you're right, like keeping it quite neutral in a sense of what genre you wanna cover or,
Yeah, I've noticed that in still in the software making or like all of this music production software, like unlike most other software applications that we find in our day to day, they are still there's like a very clear sort of like aesthetics that's very skeuomorphic that reminds me a lot of the early versions of iOS, and it's something that I've seen across Apple native instruments and whatnot. So why do you think that is?
yeah, I mean this is a big topic in that field definitely. Um, I mean, I think it made sense at some point. Like also for iOS, it made sense at some point. Um, I think just the development was faster with these kinds of consumer products. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm also wondering sometimes while it's still existing or why you still have these really direct metaphors of I don't know, yeah, like a mixer with faders and stuff you can grab and play with. But yeah, I guess it's still important to think about the people and in which environment they are, and they're most of the people probably still use hardware and like real synthesizers and pianos and things and um, so it's hard to go too far away from that, right?
Yeah,
So it,
you bring up a great point, which is first of all, sorry about that pop. I I wanna clarify because some people in our audience are not designers, so
mhm.
I wanna clarify what skeuomorphic is. Skeuomorphic is a design uh, aesthetic line, we can call it, or a design style in which software is made to look like it's a physical product. So everything is sort of 3D. Everything sort of like looks like if it's a real thing or the 3D model of a real thing. And the reason is it's mostly used because a lot of the digital products that we are creating and that sort of I think started with the iPhone, they're trying to mimic something that already exists in the real world. So if you guys Google like the early versions of iOS and iPhone, you can see that the notepad looks like a real paper notepad and the calculator looks like a real brown calculator. So all of that is sort of like to make it easier for everybody to understand what the role of the app is for, and to make it easier for you to transition from the physical world into the digital realm. I don't know, did I explain that sort of accurately?
Absolutely, yeah, totally,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's partly really photorealistic, like emulations of what's going on in the real world, yeah. And yeah, but I mean, we can definitely see a clear shift to more modern ways of visualizing things.
Yeah, the thing that you brought up that I think is very interesting is if you look at the workflow of a musician, like if you go and Google this guy FKJ and like people who combine traditional, I mean air quote traditional instruments like the electric guitar and the electric bass with software. So they maybe have a MacBook, an iPad, and maybe an electric guitar and maybe a couple of keyboards. Everything that they're doing is very sort of like touchable, very physical. Like their hands are interacting with the keys in the keyboard, interacting with the strings in the guitar. So maybe this is just me here kind of like speculating, but maybe this is the reason why the music interfaces still try to emulate a lot of like physical products, sort of like to don't sort of like to connect better what's going on in the environment of the musician.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, for me it just makes sense because I mean it you can also call something a bad UX if you have to learn something new that is actually already so you have such a clear picture of or yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we go from native instruments into starting your own agency. Can you tell us about the story of how that happened? Why did you decide to start your own agency?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I probably before I start that, I have to say again that like working at Native Instruments was really a good experience. I learned a lot, and it's a great company with a really a very unique and uh, a great culture. Like really, basically everybody is somehow interested in music, and this creates such a good vibe and a really inspiring workplace. And but still, it's a big company, and big companies tend to, I don't know, yeah, at some point a little bit complicate their processes. And I and my co-founder Fabian, we really more or less at the same time, we just felt that we're a little bit stuck as designers, since we really like projects took quite a long time. We were really working on the same product for a while, and we just wanted to, yeah, have some more input also, and definitely more output. And yeah, we then really we talked about it, and we just made a decision to quit that. And we really just started without too much of planning.
And then were you guys first of all, what was Fabian also working with you
Yeah.
at Native Instruments? And so you guys were having a beer or coffee and said, you know what, we should start our own agency. Was that kind of like how it
Probably not
happened?
so fast, but yeah, I mean, we became friends at Native Instruments, so this is where we got to know each other. And yeah, we were just hanging out quite a lot, and jamming on these things back there together. And yeah, since we both had this at the same feeling, it was really feeling natural that we try to do that. And of course, we prepared a little bit in terms of like like activating our network and talking to people outside of the company if they could imagine like hiring us for for a project or stuff like this. So we kind of try to get a sense of how the market is out there for freelance designers. First of all, like agency was also a word that sounded, or back then, a bit too um, a bit too much, or yet somehow.
And I love that part. So you were sort of testing the waters to see if someone would even consider hiring you and like if there's a market for what you were trying to sell. How did you go about your research? Like you mentioned that your network But what were like the questions, or what was your process to kind of like gauge if there was a demand for you know start an agency that's focused on designing music production software?
Mhm. Um, I mean, the design team at Native Instruments was showing us quite clearly that it was quite hard to find designers that want to work in that field, surprisingly. Or maybe it was because of, I guess, some or many designers I know, they try to avoid working for a single company, or going into like a design department of one company. They rather go into agencies because yeah, you're just having or gaining more experience there and working on more interesting stuff. And yeah, so we definitely knew it's hard to find people, and there is a big demand, and yeah, we just went from there.
Oh, that's so cool. And then, okay, so you made the decision and you start creating the agency. How long did it take you from the day you were officially unemployed until you got your first paying client?
Uh, I think 3 months, kind of something like this. I mean, this was the time to really set things up. It's quite easy in Germany to start a company, and so this was really no hassle. And but we applied still for some kind of a small support you get or you can get from the state. And this was actually most of the work, like really writing a business plan and fleshing out the idea and like kind of convince some people of uh, yeah, that this is a good idea to do. And yeah, but really, I mean, it wasn't so hard to find people in the end. They were really more or less coming on their own, really.
Did you how's your marketing strategy? Did you like reach out to people? Did you run Google Ads? Did you go on the street with a sign and start yelling?
That
All of
would be
that?
so great to run through Berlin and shake sign. No, we really don't have any marketing strategy. Still not. We have our website and we have our portfolios on Behance and whatnot. So this is in the end really where people find us, and we are super lucky to be in this situation that we really don't have to do any like really active marketing. And I think like obviously since Native Instruments is such a big player in this field, that like when people heard that there are back then we were just Fabian and me, now it's Hauke, Fabian and me. Um, so when they heard there are two people from or two designers from Native Instruments doing freelance work now, they this was really enough to get the people interested. And it's such a, I mean, this is the probably the advantage, right, again, of a niche. I mean, you already talked about it in a whole series of your podcast. Um, yeah, it's a small niche, and the word spread it kind of.
I love that you brought it up and it wasn't me. Um, but
You're welcome.
uh, but you have the so you have a portfolio and you decided to go to double down on designing only for music production software. In
Yeah.
fact, I think I read you have a little description on your website. If you scroll all the way somewhere on your website, you have we design and work with music companies, and then unlike other companies or agencies that work with web design and UX and marketing research and branding and blah 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 for all kinds of people.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we so this was really a decision we made. So to I think to be successful in a niche like that, you need to be authentic, and like having a portfolio totally mixed with, I don't know, consumer apps and I don't know, medical interfaces or stuff like this, and then like convincing somebody that you're the one that knows everything about UX and music production is hard. So and we weren't sure if this is gonna work out, and luckily it did, and it's getting better and better.
Yeah, you guys did everything right. Like you selected a very narrow niche that you had deep knowledge of and a lot of experience and you were passionate about. So all of those things combined definitely shines through your portfolio. Um, I have I'm kind of like wondering or sort of like curious about what did you put on your portfolio? Because I imagine most of the things you did at Native Instruments are covered under NDAs. So did you put like concept projects or how did you go about it?
Hmm. So we were quite lucky to after we left Native, we still did one project, or it was not only one, it was two or so. We still did for Native Instruments, and we could already show that as um, as a thing that we did as Resonant Design. Because yeah, sure, we couldn't show the stuff that we did for Native Instruments, but we kind of found a way, I think, around that, because we still had our personal portfolios, and people could find our personal websites and stuff, and yeah, I think this made it much easier, and there was basically no need for made up case studies or something like that. Yeah.
That's great. So so to this day all of your clients come either from your because they saw your portfolio or because they got recommended by someone else. Like someone else recommended you.
I guess so. Yeah, that's probably how it goes. So I guess Behance is really an important website or a service that brings people to us, because I think, yeah, most people that are not so much in the field of design, they this is the name they know, and they go there, and if you search for VST design or synthesizer designs, there's not so much coming up.
No, I like if you Google VST or like Logic plugins I don't think you're gonna find a lot even on Behance.
Yeah, true. No, yeah, this made us so sure in the end that this probably gonna work out.
Yeah, and also for companies trying to hire uh, designers and are not aware of Behance. Behance is like the largest portfolio site for creative people. So you have photographers, motion graphics, you have all sorts of things. Um, there's another one that's very popular for visual designers. It's called Dribble. Are you guys on Dribble at all?
Not really actively, I have to say. I never really understood how to sign up for it, and you have to get an invite or something, I think. So this was already throwing me off a bit, and I mean, I definitely don't wanna diss Dribble or the designers posting stuff there, but I always had the feeling that it's a little bit just on the visual surface, kind of. So the projects you see there, it's quite hard to find really, to go into depth and find more information about processes and what.
Yeah, I think that's my number one sort of criticism that I have from of Dribble. Although to be fair, I don't think their objective is to focus on process, but rather on visuals. But it's
Totally.
really hard for a UX designer or for someone that's more focused on sort of like the product development, product strategy side of things to shine on Dribble because it's very difficult to explain what you do. It's just static images. It's basically like Instagram for designers.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of like you post a picture or a couple of pictures and then a bunch of text that nobody reads. So it's kind of complicated. Whereas Behance is all designed around sort of like building your own case study. You can add images and videos and text and dividers and all sorts of things.
Yeah, yeah, it's much more flexible. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, in your opinion, what's different between designing for music applications versus doing regular product design?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. It's probably a bit hard for me to answer it really completely because I haven't done so much product design for other products. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's what makes a big big difference for me is really this. If you can identify with the people that are using your product or the product you're designing for, if you kind of feel really like a real empathy, not like, okay, I do some research and I try to talk to people. So like if you really feel what their goals are and what their life is all about, and I think you can approach things a bit differently, and this, yeah, makes a big difference, I guess.
And yeah, so how do you cuz you were just mentioning that this is part of like your passion. You actually produce music. You've been doing DJing for a very long time. And how does it feel, or like how do you go about like combining these two things? And like, do you think knowing the process of creating music gives you sort of like the inspiration to like maybe explore more instead of like staying within the boundaries of regular software design?
Maybe. I mean, I have to say, I'm not producing music in a way that I release stuff, or like, I mean, Fabian is doing that. He's probably the most professional musician of us. Um, but and I also think you don't have necessarily have to have this deep technical knowledge. But yeah, just feeling a kind of a connection to the people you're designing for. This is what makes it so special, I think, and what of course sparks creativity, and also being around with, like, I mean, our clients, they are all the same in that sense, right? Like everybody's so passionate about that, and you can, like, every meeting is super interesting because we're just flowing on the same wave, kind of, and this makes it super easy to be creative, or to create an environment that is that
Yeah,
leads
talking
to
about
creative output. Yeah.
yeah, so sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. I was
Shit.
just gonna point at the fact that for those of you who are not watching this on YouTube but are listening to it, Simon's background is filled with synthesizers and keyboards and all sorts of widgets and gadgets for creating music. And he was telling me before we started recording that they just moved into their new studio. So, can you tell us about the process of creating your studio? Because it looks more like a music production studio than what you like. I
You're only
think,
seeing that part.
yeah,
Um, here's actually a lot of desks also, and there's a small kitchen, and I mean, this is really more of an office than a music studio. Really, maybe you can also, I don't know how the sound is now, but it's still very echoey in here, and since it's really still also a little bit under construction. Um, but yeah, this was definitely a big step for us, and a great a great deal to have our own space. Like we were working like I think 1.5 years from a co-working space here in Berlin, which was also great. But yeah, like I think having your own space and the possibility to really bring all the music stuff here and really yeah combine everything now and be able to jam a bit after work, and this is just really great. Really thankful that this worked out. Yeah.
Do you guys sort of like sometimes when you're thinking through a problem, like play music, like in the middle of the day?
Um, it didn't happen yet, but we're also here since 2 weeks, so give us give us a bit more time, and I guess stuff like this will happen. Um, I mean, yeah, we often tackle design problems that might be easier to solve if you just step back from the computer and actually do something else. And yeah, I guess this will happen quite a lot.
Do you expect that now that you have your own space with all the equipment, that you're gonna get to like sort of test the products yourself and kind of like put them in context of like an entire setup and see how what you're designing sort of like interacts with everything happening around it?
I mean, I guess we were also before we were able to do that because everybody had some stuff at home and at least a MIDI keyboard and a kind of a small setup. And I mean, this is obviously in this field important to yeah have a look or really feel this situation of making music. I mean, often it probably happens when it's dark outside and you probably dim down everything a bit and you don't want the screen to be super bright. So sure, like like stuff like contrasts and how colors are used. This is definitely a big topic we always try to experience in the real environment.
Yeah, I never thought about that, but it's true that most stages when you're playing live are dark.
Mm.
So I guess that's why there's a lot of dark mode theme applications, so that you don't have this white glare like sort of blinding you in the middle of the stage.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is definitely a thing that is very consistent in music software. Like, or
Yeah.
actually, I mean, Ableton still has no dark mode, I think, but
Oh, really? I thought they had dark
maybe
mode.
they have it.
Like they have the
Well,
gray normal one,
yeah.
and well, we don't know. Um, so I wanted to ask you, what's like sort of like how do you pitch or how do you engage the first time with the client and explain what you do? Because I, like you said, there's not a lot of designers or agencies doing this type of work. So how do you go and explain them, hey, this is what we do and this is what you should work with us?
Mhm. I mean, most of the time they already know quite a bit about us, and I mean they already decided to contact us, so they definitely have an idea of what we're doing, and they know the products that we have been working on. So most of the time, there's not so much explanation necessary, really, of what exactly we are doing, but um, we always obviously tell what our process looks like. So how much time we take for different design phases and what we exactly do there. And I don't know. It's always important to us to make clear that we don't hide away for a couple of weeks and then show something, so that it's really a very transparent and iterative way of working, and that the client is always a part of that.
Do you guys only do sort of desktop and applications, or have you worked with mobile applications and maybe with the sort of like tiny little display that some synthesizers have?
Since we started Resonant Design, it's really mostly desktop software. Um, and would definitely wish to get some more projects in on for mobile devices and that stuff, because whole different thing again. And but there's just not so much going on in that field. I mean, there are a couple of apps that are super helpful, or but most of the mobile music software is really, I don't know, to either be a complete beginner and get into music making in a very playful way or stuff. But still, the most of the like really serious software is desktop based, and but yeah, we're definitely hoping to get some more stuff like that on our tables.
Do you see yourself sort of like growing into also designing the hardware, like the physical hardware, more of like industrial design type of work?
I mean, Hauke is he is actually an industrial designer, and but he very early already transitioned to UI and UX work, and software. I mean, it's again a very different field, I think, and I don't know if I personally would feel super comfortable with it, or yeah. I mean, I just love the endless possibilities you have in software, and how to make stuff look like and work like, and I think there's still so much potential in this field that I'm personally not so interested in working on hardware.
That's very cool. Yeah, the computer is the instrument now, and I only see that continuing to be the trend for the foreseeable future. Also, because you can just get a very powerful laptop that's very lightweight, and that can be kind of like your hub when you're playing live. All right. So, Simon, thank you so much for your time and for sharing with us your story and your passion of combining music and UX production. I think is super cool. It's one of the most amazing examples I've seen of niching down in the UX field. And I would definitely encourage everyone who's still sort of wondering like what to focus on to check out Resonant. I'm gonna put the link to Resonance website on the description, and also where can people go on to find more about you, connect with you, and maybe hire you for their new plugin or application?
I mean, I guess our website is a good way to start, and you will find that under resonant.design. Pretty easy. And I mean, LinkedIn is a good place definitely to connect. And I guess just dropping us a line, and we will answer everything as soon as possible. And happy to hear about your project.
All right, that's cool. Okay, everyone. So that was Simon Martin with Resonant Design. They're focusing on the UX of musical production or music production software. Thank you again, Simon, for your time. And enjoy your weekend.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Bye, everybody.